Let me introduce you to this man, Victor Maury. A fantastic artist and friend, he's worked in the entertainment industry for over a decade, where he has contributed enormously to the Riot Games projects in both League of Legends and later Arcane. Using this bribe made of cake, I've convinced him to do a breakdown of one of his most iconic splash art pieces, that of Warwick. In the following video, you'll learn about his decision making going from sketch to final, how he organizes his reference to help him depict his ideas, and of course, if you're really interested in high-end illustration like this, don't miss this brilliant lecture. All right, let's get started.
Well, thanks for having me, Jonathan. Making it happen.
Making it happen.
On a Wednesday morning.
It's a Wednesday morning. I have the great pleasure of going through an artwork made by one of my dear friends, Victor Maury. He is an artist who has had a much more successful career than me and has made really wonderful paintings during that career.
By lame capitalist standards.
Lame capitalist standards.
I would argue that the man making beautiful paintings in the woods is living the better life.
In my excitement to finally get this project going with Victor, I forgot to introduce myself completely. I'm Jonathan Livslist, and yes, I live in the woods and make art for the animation industry. Stuff like this color key here. Here are some of my personal work, personal paintings. Okay, now back to the video.
Well, we are here in my home studio. And we have a treat. We are going to go through a painting made by Victor for Riot Games. It is a splash art depicting Warwick, the werewolf that is later shown up in the series Arcane, which, Victor, you also designed for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many years later, yeah.
Many years later. And we're going to be going through the process of what is the idea, what is the pitch, and what is going to be the making of a splash art, like what is the restraints that Riot Games put on the artist. I'm going to ask you about that. And Victor has actually brought the references that he used for the painting itself. And we're going to go through what you took from it, and then we're actually going to go and look at the painting itself with the layers and go through the process and talk through that.
Nice.
It's going to be a very exciting time.
Yeah.
Super stoked for it.
I'm glad to be doing it now because the painting's already pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
Probably 7 or 8 years ago, which is weird to say, but
it's really weird to say 8 years.
That's how time goes. So I'm glad I get to talk about it now before I completely forget, because I know at the time when I made it, I had a lot of ideas and I was excited to really capture something very specific. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time thinking, like, I hope someone interviews me because I have so much to say. And then, like, it just never happens, right? So,
and we're finally here.
Better late than never.
Yeah, better late than never. So this is going to be hopefully a series where we will be sitting here talking about paintings.
Especially now that we've got the logistics figured out.
Yeah, no, it took a while. But we have a B-cam, we have a light, we have everything with the microphone. Hopefully there's no technical issues that I will have to go in and fix later. We have a lot of redundancy. So let's get started. Why don't you show us the painting?
Yeah, okay. So I just have it pulled up.
It will come up like boom. Yeah,
okay,
exactly. It will edit it like poof.
So, let's see.
So here we have Warwick, the Terror of Zaun. That's what I remember.
Yeah, Uncaged Wrath of Zaun, something like that.
Uncaged Wrath of Zaun.
They all had a moniker, but I prefer Terror of Zaun. It's a little catchy.
So it is, okay, Uncaged.
I think that was the official.
That is so corporate. Of like, it needs to be terrifying, but not too scary.
But yeah, he was definitely a breakthrough painting for me. Mm-hmm. I think maybe the second painting I did on the Champion Update team. Champion Update team being the team that would take the old, really shiesty looking old models and sort of update them to the current visual standard of Riot, which had evolved significantly. Yeah. And that was a fantastic team to be on. I was working with Josh Smith, who was both my manager, coworker, fellow teammate, and we were just having so much fun because it was a place where we could really push the craft and the storytelling. Both of us were really passionate about sort of telling the story of League. Like before that, League of Legends was a lot of like sort of Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Yeah.
You've got all sorts of different clashing characters and worlds that don't quite gel. Yeah. And behind the scenes, there was a world building team at Riot that was doing tons of work to sort of cement all this stuff in a more meaningful way. Yeah. And so Warwick was being moved to this Zaunite character, meaning he's from Zaun.
So he didn't have a location before. It was more like a vague he's a
not
werewolf.
sure.
We're gonna have a werewolf because we have the
Yeah.
Little Red Riding Hood.
Right.
Annie.
To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. I was so, maybe that's not the word, but like appalled by the old characters that I like didn't learn anything about them. I was like, okay, they're gonna be deleted, and then we're gonna bring in this new fresh hotness.
Because you didn't like. Why would I learn something that is going to be put in the trash? I mean,
well, so just enough to like understand what players enjoyed about it, but we would sort of extract the essence and then try to bring it into the modern era.
So if we don't have the. I mean, we can just bring up the old artwork.
So this splash is not bad. Like this is a nice image.
Yeah.
But maybe I can pull up like the old one.
Yeah.
If I open
the oldest splash shot.
There we
go.
go.
So this is what he was before.
Yeah.
And obviously this is just like the post 3D model with like a little rim light on. Let's get it out the door as fast as possible.
Right. It was a different time. I mean, they were pumping out champions like every 2 weeks instead of every couple months back then. So
yeah.
Different parameters. You can't judge it based on that. But obviously, as Riot hired more and more artists and had a coherent art direction and a bigger budget, then the production went up over time. So it was a team where you got to feel good about yourself because you were improving something. Yeah. And you had a nice point of comparison.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, it's good to see like the old artwork compared to like what then remade and then what you're eventually going to do, because I think ultimately the fantasy of werewolf is always quite clearly on display.
Blood-crazed werewolf.
And except like the eyes being a very important factor, and also like this like need for blood. Yeah. And I feel like now this updated splash art, it kind of like before this one you did here, it makes him feel more like a ninja. If I tap behind.
It's funny that, we kind of joked that they ended up very similar, even in the pose. You have the claw in the front.
Yeah.
But I think, it goes to illustrate that there's important factors to image making beyond the pose, because you can have the sort of almost an identical pose, but it's lacking the context. It has no setting. It has no specific emotion beyond badass, lightning, rim light. Yeah. There's a lot of nice things about it, the materials, the atmosphere, all that stuff, but I can't help but look at something like this sometimes and just be like, who cares? Like, who is this? Yeah. What is the emotional connection beyond badass or scary, right? And I think anchoring him in Zahn helps give him some of that identity and some of that specificity that I think Lee was moving towards. Yeah.
But I think also, like, when you look at this one, that there's, like, this very clear emphasis on the backdrop because there's so much contrast with the lightning, but there's actually no further context that's really been given because, like, it just feels like a mountaintop. Yeah. Whereas when you have the Zahn context, he is in the streets. Like, it feels like he will get you next. And, like, I remember there was a cinematic for Warwick that was made that really, like, illustrated, like, the terror of what he was and what he represented. And I feel like, the reason why I said this feels like a cool ninja, like we strike a pose, we're in the Kung Fu world, is because it's very reminiscent of that. And I think...
in that sense, it almost feels like a fighting game character. Like it does a good job of demonstrating what he is. I don't know that it does a great job of demonstrating why you should care or connect. But yeah.
I'm going to find the credit for the artist here and put their name up on the screen because obviously they did a fantastic job.
I think it is actually a really nice piece.
It's a really nice piece.
I think it probably went through a couple of different hands as well, as was often the case.
Yeah. This like specular highlight on the shoulder pad, how it like brings your focus back into the face.
Oh,
like,
totally.
It's like a really cool like little swipe. Everything goes back to the face in like a very like cool way. Yeah. I think like it's the flow of the pose is definitely super nice.
Yeah. There's things in this piece that I think are done better than in mine, but I'm better equipped to speak on mine than on this one because obviously,
of course let's not linger on this one then.
No, it's cool.
Yeah. Come on, it's great. It's good to have the comparison of like what it was and what came before it. So the references. So this is the reference board that you used for the painting itself. So like this is this collection of inspirations that you took. And can you just tell me about the process of like, so you were told you're going to have to remake a Warwick, and I guess the story team it's going to be in Sans, it's going to be this Undercity. Can you just tell me a bit about the process of like how you were briefed and how like you started actually approaching the sketching process itself, and like when you were looking for these references as well?
Yeah. So maybe I can pull up real quick the thumbnails that I did. when doing a splash for a rework, you're going to be given what's called pillars. And pillars are incredibly useful tools that are basically your bounding box of art direction for the character. And no matter what, you have to communicate the pillars. Everything else is gravy. It's bonus points.
So can you just elaborate on like what the pillars would be for Warwick in
so
this
unfortunately,
case?
I don't remember them exactly.
Okay.
I wish I had them. I wrote them down for some of the champions that I did, but not this one. But you have to imagine it's something like voracious bloodlust.
Okay. Yeah.
Monstrous chimera. Like communicate the idea that he's like, we call him werewolf, but in the lore, he's like, oh, well, he's got mixes of bat DNA and other animals, right, to give him these, like, sort of super athletic abilities.
Yeah.
So communicate basically that he's a werewolf, communicate the bloodlust, and then, I don't know what the third one would have been. But usually what was interesting is it would be, like, a gameplay pillar, a visual pillar, and a narrative pillar, which really helps flesh out the character, because then you're communicating what is the gameplay, and that's going to be the crazed bloodlust.
Yeah.
What is the visual? That's going to be like the sort of chimeric abomination. That's the archetype. And then the narrative would maybe be like sort of the tragedy of the fact that he used to be a man from Zon. I don't know what the succinct pillar was for that, but like basically this sort of like fallen Zonite who's now lost to the blood craze. So once you have those three, you're able to really quickly sort of literally triangulate what this character is about. Yeah. That being said, the image will usually focus on one more than the others, but should ideally contain all three. Yeah. So, by my own admission, I mean, these aren't like the best adhesion to the pillars of any of the thumbnails that I've ever done, but I'll just slowly walk you through some of them.
We could ask, but I think it's also like sometimes the pillars can also be contradictory in some way.
Yeah, like sometimes there's a what's it called, like a friction between them that is interesting to explore. Yeah. But in his case, he's actually like a super straightforward character compared to a lot of other characters. It's not that he lacks nuance per se, but he's like blood hungry werewolf. Like everybody gets it. Yeah. It's like, and when you play him, that's what comes across too. Like I was playtesting him while I was doing the splash to get a feel for the gameplay. And I mean, you just immediately literally see red. You're charging towards enemies. You're diving 2 towers deep. And so this was the first thumbnail that I did where I'm like, I just want to capture the feeling of when you jump on a motherfucker and you maul them to death. Yeah. I mean, that's just like so visceral. So visceral, right? So violent. Yeah. And so I want it to be the most like foreshortened, in your face, extreme, dynamic. Like it's very classic splash, like the claw and the eyes and all that stuff. But I wanted to just capture the sheer violence and insanity. So that was the first one. Mm-hmm. The second one is a very different tone. Yeah. And it's the feeling of sort of like, okay, you're walking through Zon and you hear this just... And then you look in an alleyway and you're basically faced with this mountain that is towering over the corpse remains of some poor bloke. Yeah. And you've interrupted its meal. Yeah. And in so doing, you have doomed yourself because in the next moment, he's going to jump and rip out your throat. And just the tension and the anticipation in that moment, I thought was very exciting. And it's a very different way to demonstrate it because this one is so in your face, so sort of unequivocal, unabashed about what it's doing. And then this one is like, you actually only see the claw first, and then you perceive the silhouette and the glowing eyes. So it's very much about not showing, and in so doing, sort of inviting the viewer to investigate, but at their own peril and their own doom. Then number 3 was the pretty typical shot of like the ring wraith when it looks over the log and there's the hobbits. I mean, I literally put the hobbits down.
Oh yeah, that's the hobbits.
As sort of a joke, but it's like just to get the point across.
How did the team react?
I don't think they saw them. No one ever notices the hobbits. Like if I hadn't told you, would you have seen them?
I would not have. I thought they were like
it looks like texture.
It's like a texture. Yeah. No,
but it's that moment of him just like and
like, yes, okay, I can totally feel the fear. And like you just like, and you see like the saliva kind of like just dripping on your legs, and you're like, oh man.
It's good. It's got the same sort of anticipation in a different way. But the reason I don't like it is this would never happen because if you're that close to him, he
would
has
find
such
you.
a cute
Yeah,
smell
yeah,
that
yeah.
you're already dead, right?
Like he would hear your heartbeat basically.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I liked the pose. I liked the emotion. I think we ended up using this portrait for the ice skin for
Okay.
Warwick, so we like recycled this
Okay.
drawing, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I thought this was like a really fun one. It had the subsurface going through his tank, so that,
Yeah.
you know, it catches his ear. So the lighting, I thought, was like, I could see it in my head, but it just doesn't make sense. Like
Yeah.
when Warwick's on you, like this moment doesn't actually happen.
Yeah. So you can say that because it goes against the pillars.
It doesn't go against them, but it's if you think it through, it's not as strong as it could be, because this one like captures the speed and violence.
Yes.
This one captures the inherent speed
Yes.
and violence, but this one makes him almost too contemplative and too dumb. Like he didn't find you.
Yeah.
And this kind of
Or-
shot is
or too
more
intelligent because he's playing with you and like you don't
Maybe.
necessarily like
maybe
expect
but
that.
I think the problem with this kind of thing is the main character in this image is the hobbits.
yes. Okay.
Because
Yeah. I
you
see.
connect
Yeah.
to them, you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh god, they're so close to being found out by this monster. But
Yeah.
the monster's the main character,
Yeah.
so it doesn't actually make sense.
Okay.
And then D, to be honest, is kind of a throwaway. Like you can tell I sort of didn't even finish it.
Yeah.
It was a nice gesture, but it's like kind of too graceful and doesn't really match Warwick. So
Yeah.
I called this
Too
the
ninja.
Yeah, I called this the making your way downtown walking fast. Like it's just
I'm coming to kill some
you know,
dudes.
like it's just sometimes like the what's it called, the splash review where we would share the thumbnails.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it falls on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or whatever, and whatever you have is what you show. If you want a little bit more time, you're like, oh guys, give me a second, I'll show next time. But in this case, I think I was like, okay, well I think the answer is in one of these three anyway.
Yeah.
So I just showed this, right?
Yeah.
And I thought 100% they would go for this,
Yeah.
because this is what it feels like to play him. It's so splash, it's so classic.
Mm-hmm. Could I
They
ask-
were always pushing me to make images like this, and I was
Yeah.
like, I hate foreshortening. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
to show the character and all this stuff. But I was like, okay, whatever. I'll give them what they want.
Yes.
Here's exactly what they want. And then during the review, they're like, whoa, this one is so cool. And I was
Yeah.
like, ain't no way that you're cool with the image that like completely puts the character in shadow, which is something that they usually were not comfortable with.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to show off the merchandise.
Yes, exactly. It's like
right? But the feeling is so much more interesting here.
Mm.
And so I was kind of delighted that they went with this one. I never thought in a million years they would. But then obviously that's what I ended up going
But I
with.
think that's also like the question of like, you know, showing off the, you could say like, you know, when you show off the merchandise of like, you show off like the skin itself, like he has to be visible. And you could say in the extreme foreshortening with the hand so close, you can't really see, you there's not enough space to really get a detail on the claws, because like if it was really following the motion,
Yeah.
it would have to
It would be
kind of be
blurred.
blurred out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
It would be very much a portrait shot.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that might
Which
make
is like maybe okay, because Warwick is so much about motion and speed. He's like,
yeah.
I mean, his design isn't like inherently that interesting or beautiful in the sense of like compared to like Aurelia, where her
Yeah.
armor might be very ornate
Yes.
and her hair or whatever. It's like he's more like a blur, like "Brr," and then
Yeah.
you get
Yeah,
mauled,
yeah.
right?
If you
And-
see him, it's already too late.
Yeah, and it's a bit moot because in both of these you have the claw in the foreground. I guess this one I do get to show it off.
Yeah.
In the splash. To be fair.
But you also move the layout around a bit to accommodate the claw being much more visible.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
I remember like the claw is like a bit further back in the image itself. Like, and you also give more space to see the total back of his silhouette.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, so I mean, I was pleasantly surprised that the team went for something like this, which is something that, for my personal sensibilities, is much more something I'm interested in. Like a lot
Mhm.
of my favorite oil painters are really good at putting the spotlight just off of the character, so that you're drawn into the image, and then you discover them instead
Yeah.
of like just showing, like giving it up too fast. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's and in horror especially, right? And this is like, I was playing the horror angle. You never just show the alien under fluorescent lights,
Yes.
right? Like in Alien, you spend the entire movie and you don't see them. You just see the silhouette moving in the background,
Yes.
or you see the slime coming down from the rafters. Like you never show the thing, right? And so that was the tension I was playing with, is like, how do I do something that's splashed, that's very explicit, detailed, rendered in your face, product-y,
Yeah.
plasticky, and bring some of that sensibility of horror, of traditional painting, of like a little bit of suspense to keep the viewer interested. Because, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing that happened in the previous splash, the one they called the ninja splash. It's like, you're giving it up too fast. It's like,
Yeah,
here it is.
It's also like it doesn't feel necessarily horrific because the lightning showcases the full wolf.
Yeah.
And
if that wasn't an animated show, he would just be a black shape
Yes.
with the lightning rim light.
Yes,
But
yes.
since it's a splash,
Yeah.
they show all the interior detail.
Yeah.
And so it ends up, it's not, I wouldn't say it looks like a toy, but it's just like, you just see everything and then you're not scared. So
Yeah.
So with all this in mind, knowing that I'm going for B, knowing that I have to fulfill the pillars of bloodlust, of werewolf monstrosity, and of, sort of the man within the beast, now we can take a look at the references.
All right.
So a little bit of context. My process obviously has evolved in 8 years, but at the time of making Warwick, my approach would have been something like this. Gather all of the materials provided by the League team, which is going to include things like the model, which was still being changed pretty regularly.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is like pretty far along. Like, I think this is close to the final model.
Yeah.
By Larry Ray. There's going to be the 3D that's being made.
Yes.
So sometimes that will be further or less far along. Any sort of world building documents. So at the time this was internal, it's since been made publicly available, but we had these things called like the Zon sheets. And so the world building team was working on fleshing this stuff out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So this wasn't public player facing at the time, but now it is. And this is hugely informative on the sort of shape language that we were developing for Zon. I don't remember the exact vocabulary for it, but I always call it like Eiffel Tower shape language. What is that? Like
Eiffel Tower punk. I mean,
just like wrought iron.
We need lots of steam vents everywhere,
Yeah.
and then like just like it's kind of like the cheapest manufacturing, you could say, because it's all trusses and triangle metal brackets,
like this,
stuff like
wrought
together.
iron, sort of, and then these like sort of oxygen pods and all the different gases coming out from the vents and the mining. So this was like hugely inspiring for the background.
I think like one thing that I mean like it's not to get into the Arcane show that came after it, but like when I look at this,
this was long
concept
before
work,
Arcane.
It's very interesting to see how much like vibrancy is like pushed in these concept arts. Like I feel like when you see the oxygen pods, there is like trees inside them. Like I feel like there was much more focus on like the survival of like you have the fog and you have the interior
oxygen.
where it's safe.
Yeah.
And like almost like it's like sealed homes with glass.
Yeah, but it's for the rich. Like you go to an oxygen cafe and you get to breathe clean air. You know,
you get a coffee with some branches now.
Everybody else is working the mines.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
No, but it was cool stuff. So I would gather the world building stuff, the in-game stuff, and then I'm going to go through my entire reference folder. I don't know. Sometimes I would do this. It's kind of psychotic, but I'll go through my entire reference folder with my intentions. Yeah. So I hold the intentions in my head, the pillars in my head. And then I go through my entire reference folder and pick out any image that's going to help me in communicating that goal, whether or not it is explicitly a werewolf or not. And you're going to see that in things like, obviously I'm going to pick out pieces that are werewolves that I've seen before.
Yeah, Steve Prescott,
I mean, Steve is amazing.
Yeah.
So like, and especially Magic, which was and is a huge source of visual inspiration for me and is sort of my fantasy visual vocabulary, like more than Blizzard, more than video games. I played a lot of Magic, so I was intimately familiar with all the werewolves that had ever been painted in Magic, and the sort of shonen competitive crazy part of me at the time was like, okay, I want to make the best werewolf painting ever.
And I think you really got close. I mean, if it's not the best, it's very close. I think it's a really cool.
It can hang with these guys, but I wouldn't say it's the best. But
that's fair.
So, but the way, in my mind, the way I would approach that is I was like, okay, if I wanted to be the best werewolf painting that I can make, I need to look at the best werewolf paintings that I've seen from other people. And so I gathered a ton of those. I mean, there's, Steve Prescott, Ryan Pancoast. And these guys are doing it in acrylic and oils. It's a totally different ballgame. But so to see like sort of how they did it. But beyond that, I might also pick out a piece like this one.
Tooth and nail.
And I have spoken about this painting often, I think, especially in my class. But what
Underpaint, do you want to Underpaint Academy?
We can get to that later.
At the very end.
But something I love about this piece is it has the sort of warped fisheye perspective or ground level perspective without any of the pieces being technically correct, which speaks to my heart personally because I hate perspective grids. I hate sort of like really, really technical drawing, the act of doing it. I'm not saying it doesn't look good. And what I love about Jesper is that everything's a little bit broken, but it feels right. And that's so what I'm about in painting. Like if it feels right, it trumps if it is right. Like if you look at the cobblestones, it doesn't actually follow like the way that would look in real life. If you look at the scale of the background buildings, you have these like giant stairs, this like weirdly sized barrel. You have like the second floor of a building up here when the second floor should be up here. But you zoom out and it's all perfect. It's this lumbering presence coming up at you, right?
I think there's also like one thing about like that art has like the physical, that's like the physical reality, and then there's like the emotional reality.
Yes, and the emotional reality is so much more interesting and important to me.
It's in visual art too. I mean, because I feel like what Jesper Eising has done here is really like, it feels like the world is rolling under their feet. Yes. And so it's like almost like that they are dragging the world into nothing. And you're about to get stepped
trampled.
It's like you're like, oh shit, like it's like everything has this chaos of the fight. And if he had like strictly pulled out the perspective and like made it very clean and very gritty, the force would have been, I would say, the reality of the city street would have pulled out the emotional reality of an unstoppable stampede.
100%. And you lose the gesture, you lose the energy. Like, imagine if this was modeled in 3D and actually done perfectly. Like, it would look like a Hollywood shot or whatever, but it might be a little bit more boring. I would argue. So I'm always very, very inspired by this piece because it is one of the clearest examples, as you succinctly stated, of the emotional reality trumping the physical reality. And I also loved the cobblestones. I thought that the cobblestones could be a really good indicator of Zahn. As you can see, this a little bit all over the place, but I'm going to zoom into selective pieces to sort of show you what I picked and chose from each of them. You know what? I'll let you choose something on here, and I can tell you what it was doing for me.
Well, because I'm looking at all the Wolverine and the Carla Ortiz piece, and so that's kind of like the bite, this like chunk thing, and it's like, can I ask you, it's like, because obviously you're trying to make like a piece about a feral creature. What was it that you kind of like took from this piece? Because like I really see like this like wild animal in this woman. Like with the pack of wolves, like there's something really, like, I mean, it's like, this is the horror because like you see someone who should not be there just exist within the space.
That's it. It's the interruption. The interruption. Like, you should not be here. You should not be seeing this. She was feeding in the dark. You flashed the flashlight on her, and now her eyes are on you. So this is a perfect example of like, this is not a piece about a werewolf. But it captures exactly the feeling that I'm ultimately going to port over onto Warwick, right? And the only thing I did is I just lowered the spotlight a little bit lower, so that it's not head on. I think it's great on this one because it's sort of the deer in the headlights kind of horror where you're like, you have those like really sharp cast shadows that outline everything in black. It's like it is kind of a very horror look. But a different way to do that is to move the spotlight down, which you can actually see. On this piece, I just like having the name so people can look it up. But okay.
So he has the tail be visible.
He often does this where he'll put the spotlight not on the focal point, but somewhere else. It's still the focal point through control of contrast. Like, he made her tentacles so high contrast, and he grouped the stone people or the marbleized warriors in such a way that it's undisputably still the focal point. But the light is not on the focal point, which is so interesting and genius because it's so easy to just blast this with light, but then she might look heroic or something like that. But the fact that it's on the tail is like, you sort of enter through here, wind your way up, and by the time you get to her eyes, you are then turned to stone as well. Right? And that slight delay, I think, is like, even on a philosophical level, I love that, just not having that instant gratification, not having that just like McDonald's served in 3 seconds, like having to work for it just a tiny bit is so nice.
It also just increases the dynamism of the painting itself, because you kind of like have a spot that you can, I mean, because if you look at it, the tail in the way that it goes around the image, because it's kind of like it's hiding a soldier, and there's a soldier that also creates depth there.
Yeah.
But the highlight really like showcases the pattern of the tail.
It gives you the material.
Yeah.
In like 3 strokes, like you really don't have you don't work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
In 3 strokes you have scales, right?
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
don't have to paint any scales.
Yeah, it's like
Which is
we
great.
love intelligent
Yeah.
brush
If this was a splash, you bet your ass you'd have to render a couple scales here, but
yeah.
it's just nice.
Yeah.
Especially on something like a magic card, which is so small.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the small read is super important. And I think what Splash loses track of sometimes is that it's okay to have a beautiful surface and a really like moments of almost hyper rendering or like micro compositions, as I call them. But it should be on top of a foundation that is still a very easily readable graphic statement.
Yeah.
And I think that does get lost in the sauce a lot of the times.
It's also just like it's something that you usually have to kind of fight for, to have the abstract read, because the clients will usually push towards everything needs to be visible, because
for them to understand it,
yeah.
it needs to be more explicit earlier on, when really like we know that this is actually the important part, because the brain recognizes this visual pattern, this visual matrix at a thumbnail level before it then investigates the detail.
Yeah.
And you need both. You need to put the detail on top of the graphic statement.
Yeah.
So it's hard because we have to sell the graphic statement, be like, okay, now project the detail, and they can't do that.
And it's also just like when it comes back to like what is the purpose of the drawing itself, because obviously the splash art is consumer facing, right? Like it is there for them to help make the decision, like I want to play Warwick, I want to be the werewolf man.
Right.
For the internal use, like if you go to the concept work that were for Warwick, the ones because that's like the rendering is very in a way it's quite simple. It's as close to the game as it can
it's
be.
Stylized, to match the environment.
Yeah,
which it needs to.
And you can kind of see like how the design comes together. But like even then before that, if you go up to the image that is the actual 2D design, and like how they were approaching that.
Which
right?
one?
This one.
Yeah. I think this was already being prepared for the like cinematic teaser.
Yeah.
So then they had this version.
Okay.
So that's the thing, is like you have the in-game version, which it needs to be stylized to match the game.
Yeah.
There was the cinematic version. And so this was actually one of the rare opportunities where I got to like take advantage of a version that was more cinematic to inform the splash, because usually this is the kind of work that we have to do by ourselves.
Yeah.
Like they give you the in-game model and you have to imagine the blur cinematic multi-million-dollar Hollywood shot version. So you have to like almost redesign it or up-res it yourself.
Yes.
But this time like a lot of that work was actually done for me thanks to the cinematic team. So I had stuff like this, which is like already slightly more rendered.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take this one-to-one, but it's already gets me a lot closer than this.
Yeah.
Right.
Because obviously the treatment that you ultimately have to make is categorically different.
Right. Or like stuff like this. Like I would never usually have this.
Yeah.
I would need to design this normally from this. But in this case I did have it, and it was actually really, really helpful and helped inspire me to actually show off that front paw more because I was able to like appreciate the mechanics more than I usually would.
Yeah. And
so I was like, okay, like now that I understand it thanks to this schematic, I kind of want to show it off. Versus if I had just had this, I mean, this is very cool. Yeah. But I don't know.
But I think that's like a level of translation you kind of have to make, where like, cause like it's like a pseudo mechanical, where like you kind of like see that it should be a joint that's kind of doing this, but having it actually being explicitly drawn out, like that's obviously a huge time saver because.
I mean, this was cool, like the subdermal joints.
Yeah.
I mean, very difficult to like draw, but so fun to figure out. So a couple more refs to talk about real quick. So yeah, definitely moment of intrusion, spotlight not being on the face. I found a bunch of different like wolves and dogs, and I wanted to sort of understand what makes a dog look or feel feral or like it's about to attack me. Yeah. And from what I could tell from these, at least, it's like sort of the dilation of the eyes. Yes. The gums showing. When they snarl, the lip pulls back and you see the gums. Sometimes it looks derpy like this, so I think I ended up not showing the gums that much, but it was just kind of an interesting tidbit. Another thing was these lines on the snout.
On the snout, the paws.
Yeah, the snarl.
They kind of like pull. It really shows how the paws are being pulled back, like towards the eyes. Yeah,
exactly. And that was like crucial.
If you go back to that werewolf, the wolf.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's showing its gums, but it's hiding it with the upper lip, right? You can clearly see that the teeth are, strictly speaking, much more visible.
Yeah.
Because the mouth is more open.
Yeah.
And yet the gums are hidden in the
This is
dark.
what gives it the like.
Yeah.
It's like okay, his mouth is activated and he's growling.
He's like, that's not a friendly dog anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Then the bark is already too late. Like that's already just like the expulsion of sound.
Yeah.
So I wanted the before, the snarl.
Yeah.
And you even find it in like lions here, right? Like that snarl is just like very interesting visually, I thought. But the thing is, I wanted to balance that with this feeling. And this feeling is like a different feeling. It's the feeling of an animal in the shadow that's just a shape. And the way they have the sort of reflective coating on their eyes. And so it just turns their eyes into orbs.
Yeah.
So this was like basically the primary tension in the image that I was trying to capture is the graphic statement of the shape in the darkness with the circular eyes.
Yes.
And the explicit mechanical material reality of the snouts and the snarl and the teeth.
Yes.
And the canines. And so in the same way that we were talking about before, like the emotional reality versus the physical reality, this is the same thing. It's like combining those two things, and often doing something in the middle is not the best idea. Like you should do one or the other. But I found myself in Splash often having to like find the middle path, and it was very difficult, but this is, I think, one of the few times that I sort of pulled it off.
It's also like when you think of like the feral nature of these wolf reference, like with like, because obviously like in the final image there's very clearly like you have the glowing eyes.
Is there a way to quickly toggle between Photoshop?
Yeah, like this.
So what I ended up doing is you have most of the body being this sort of shape in the shadow, but then and then you have the spotlight on the claw, but just the tip of the spotlight, like I would say up to like the spotlight just captures here. So I get to have my cake and eat it too, right? I have the shape, the dark shape with the circle eyes, and I have the snarl, right? So it's like a very specific cutoff.
It's actually on the nose of like how can I do both? That's actually a really cool detail, And
sometimes you can't do both, but in this case, that's what I was trying to do.
That's so interesting, because it kind of captures like both realities, and shows both ideas very clearly, and also doesn't sabotage either.
Yeah. And sometimes
sometimes it's definitely it's like you handcuff yourself and
it's not,
jump off a cliff.
It's not as strong as just a pure statement like this, but this can't be a splash. Like I can't turn this in. So with that in mind, like how can I walk that line? Another thing I was completely obsessed with for some reason is the fur on these lions' snouts. Once it's wet with blood, the way it pools and the way it spikes the fur and mats the fur. I mean, I just thought this is the most beautiful like animal mouth I've ever seen. And so that was definitely something I wanted to capture as well. I
see. It's a very small detail overall, but I can imagine the personal satisfaction of including that from reference. I mean, that's a really important piece to me, at least.
and I still have like a little bit of the blood, quote unquote, pooling. And this is a concession to censorship. I mean, I know this is something we talked about earlier, as you were asking sort of like, what are the realities and parameters of making the splash image?
This was a question I asked him before we started recording, which was basically like, Riot Games, the League of Legends game, is published worldwide, and so there are some considerations that you obviously have to make for a worldwide audience, which is that every single censorship law in every single country applies to your painting suddenly.
And some of the steepest ones, or some of the ones that we were always sort of tiptoeing around, were the Chinese ones, which include not showing blood and not showing skeletons.
Like no bones.
Right. And so I borrowed an old trick from Samurai Jack,
Yeah.
the animated show, which is
A robot. Yeah. So they're all cut.
and Gendy Tartakovsky talks about this. He's like, okay, well, I'm making a show for Cartoon Network. It has to be the certain age rating.
Yeah.
You can't have a samurai like cutting people open all day.
Yeah.
So what do? We set it in the future, and he's cutting robots in half.
Yeah. But
And the nice thing about robots is their blood is going to be like oil.
yeah.
And so I'm using that as an analog for blood, so I can still capture the feeling. There's some on his nose, there's some on his teeth, there's some on his lip. It's catching this nice highlight.
He just loves to kill.
And then this guy's ripped to shreds. You can sort of see his chest cage open, and I sort of picked a design that is meant to evoke a rib cage. And then I have his hand all contorted and fucked up, and his arm just ripped to shreds as well, like a can opener. You know,
It's like Warwick is so strong that he will make your indestructible metal body feel like paper.
It's like if he can do this to a robot guy,
Yeah,
imagine what he's going to do to flesh, right?
Yeah.
So the viewer can very quickly extrapolate that, and then you have his nuts and bolts all over the place. So he's really been fucked up. But if you look at the the thumbnail, back then I literally had a rib cage, right?
Yeah.
And I had a human hand, and obviously I can't do that, and so I was like, that was something I had to solve pretty early on, where I was like, crap, I feel like this is communicated by these elements.
Yeah.
How do I port these elements in a way that still feels the same, but fulfills those requirements? And so having this guy's scraps everywhere, I think, helps do that pretty well.
That's so interesting that you talk about the Samurai Jack solution of like, how can we do this violent thing and still have it pass censorship rules, obviously, but also just like, how can you have it convey the same emotion as a human? Because I think, in a sense, when I look at that, I didn't even think of it as a robot because it's so viscerally human coded. Right? It's the way that the arm is kind of like mangled, and the way that like the robot is shaped is definitely like, it's so close to being a human that
it's meant to evoke that, just like really broken, hyperextended, contorted gesture. I think is very important to not get lost in the sauce of the how do the joints work, and like if you examine the design of this robot, like none of it makes any fucking sense. It's not very well engineered whatsoever, but it's meant to evoke like, this is his neck made of wires and one of the wires is cut, or this is a piece that's meant to evoke a rib cage and it's torn in half, or like this is his hand and it's kind of like when you see a corpse, like it's just deactivated, right?
It's also like the it conveys its design well enough that you get the idea.
And it shouldn't be distracting
anyway,
because it's very much a supporting element to Warwick. So if it was a human, you might empathize too much with it. It's the Hobbit problem all over again. You're going to connect to the human before you connect to the beast. So you need to be careful not to give them too much to connect with. But another trick I would often use is never have the secondary character's face
be visible
facing the camera. Because you're going to connect with their face. It's just like, it's something you can't help. So in this one, I have him facing sort of away. Right? And that's a conscious choice.
Because if he was looking towards us, we'd be like, oh, we gotta help Benny, the robot.
Like, even if he was, like this, like you might see too much of his face. And so I need to have it not be distracting. So it's aside.
So it's like this, like his attention is pointing away from us. And so we don't really get the same sense of it.
Because you should feel like his body being torn, but you shouldn't necessarily care about him. And here I have to give credit to Jason Chan, who did at the time was working on this amazing comic for Camille that had these really fantastic designs for sort of Zangoons that perfectly, I think he sort of came to the same conclusion, where if you want to show extreme violence, you got to have these guys be robots. And like you can see, I pretty much aped like the throat cables, the rib cage element, and was able to like basically steal that from these guys because they were just fantastic. So shout outs to Jason, always doing the most.
Like he's been incredible for like ever since I was into art.
Like anywhere he passes, there's like the silent level up of the Jason Chan pass. And this comic like sold Zon to me in such a big way that I think really helped set the scene for me. So another element is going to be stylization. And one thing that Splash necessarily draws from is both sort of like cinematics, comics, and anime. And so there's usually going to be a nice mix of all of the above in my reference folder. And so this is like some comics pages that I feel capture the intensity or ferocity that I might be interested in porting into Warwick, as well as like how to stylize teeth is something you might not think about on the outset, but it's really easy for teeth to look either too realistic or awkward or bad. And so trying to figure out like how to group them.
Yeah, it's usually easy just to like have people not open their mouth at all.
Yeah. But that's something you can get from photography or I love how Wayne Reynolds always shows like the bottom jaw from above, which is like a really unique thing that he does.
It's also like, it's kind of like, you can think about the emotional reality. It's like it physically that doesn't make any sense.
Right. It feels good.
But it when you look at it, like it's scary. Like it makes you want
unhinged.
to look away.
Yeah.
Like I think like that's the thing. Like it's almost like a snake.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know. Sorry, I didn't mean no trouble. Like,
Yeah. Also, I mean, I didn't think of it at the time, but talk about like capturing the feeling of the shape with eyes and the snarl. Like, this is another great example.
He made the exact same concession to hide the face and get the nose out. Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I think it also goes to show that, you know, like from the same reference, you can obviously come to, because he was allowed to make it completely black. Yeah. The character internal elements.
Which I couldn't. Yeah. Because this is very graphic, very comic bookish. Yeah. I can't go that far. In fact, one of the sort of tenets of Splash is that we wouldn't go full black in the shadows, just to introduce some color. Yeah. It's just one of the art direction pillars at the time. Yeah. So, but I mean, this is so cool. So
it also makes sense because, like, I feel like when I think of the splash art, like this very much like control the black point is like mostly for the eyes, like to make the eyes stand out more, and like it kind of like it's very clear, like the indication of focus.
If you look at the values, it ends up where like I think the only black is maybe actually this lip, just so I can get the wet feeling. Yeah. Because if you look at the rest of the lip, it doesn't go full black. Yeah. We're at like, 80%. Yeah. Something like that. But then here,
0.
Yeah, basically full black. Yeah. And that allows me to get the shine on a black lip. Yeah. So if the more you save your values, obviously, the more you can use them strategically like that. Yeah.
It's also like if you look at like the eyes themselves, that like they are glowing, but then you have like the dark goggles. I don't remember like exactly what they call on dogs.
Like here.
Yeah. That they also like really help to make them brighter.
So that's super important to me, is like introducing like the thing we were talking about before, the graphic read underneath the detail pass.
Just a second.
So obviously there's all this this micro detail. There's even like individual hairs at some point. Yeah. Just on the very tip of the nose, and like pores on his nose, right? But all of this rests on, and this is something I showed you earlier, but
the threshold.
If you go to like, was it posterized or threshold?
Both the same thing.
Like this, basically this graphic read. Yeah. And at every level, I want this to just feel extremely iconic. Yeah. In a way that you could draw it in just black and white. Yeah. In fact, I think I did do. Yeah. Here's like a quick drawing I did of the face, and I can recreate it very quickly with pencil because it has an iconic nature. And if it didn't have that underneath, I couldn't replicate it with a drawing because I would need the rendering to like carry it. Yeah. But this is what's underneath. This and makes it, and in my opinion, makes it stronger. Beyond just like all of the fur and rendering and all that stuff. I think people talk about rendering a lot, and I think it's much less important than people make it out to be. And it's also, I don't think I approach it the same way as most people. I think the rendering is a way to bring up the whole image and like understanding material properties. I think all that stuff is important. But at the end of the day, I kind of hate rendering, and there's not actually a whole lot of it in this piece if you look at sort of like the background, and I tend to think of it much more as like micro compositions where I'll pick areas where I want the eye to go. Yeah. So let's say I start here. I'm like a little guy. Okay, I want to like climb up here. Oh, okay, maybe I'm gonna look at this bolt. Oh, that's a cool bolt. And then I'm gonna turn my head and be like, oh, this highlight caught my eye, and I'm gonna climb up here, and this is going to be the main knuckle, and this knuckle needs to be more rendered than this one. and this one's going to be more rendered than this one.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to make my way over here, have an interesting sort of ink blotch that's going to bring me into this, then have this point maybe take me here. Here I have a nice little composition that's going to take me into the face.
Yeah.
So I'm very much thinking about this like sort of visual journey, and that helps me. It makes it more fun for me. I think it makes it more fun for the viewer, and it keeps it from feeling uniform and mechanical.
Yeah.
Is I will actually just go in here and like take this journey. So these cracks are going to be along the path that I want the viewer to take, and they're not going to be here, and they're not going to be here.
Yeah.
Right?
So you basically, you only introduce detail in areas
on an eye path,
which is always on the path. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate a bit on like when you say about eye path, if you zoom out, like, cause like if I'm kind of seeing the journey of that we see the claw first because it's like it has like this like brightness, and then it kind of like we look up at it, but then we discover the wolf behind it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
or you can go
yeah,
here,
you go up there and
go
then it everything goes back to the face. I mean, like also the ears, they kind of like they take you away from the background, and they bring you into the back into the body.
Right.
Like they kind of interrupt.
And I mean, this is kind of silly, but I even literally fenced off the background. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
you're not gonna go back here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna escape through here.
Yeah.
And then everywhere should feel like you're imprisoned.
Yeah.
Even these bars, right?
Yeah.
Are meant to evoke this feeling of prison, like you're caged in. Because part of the problem I had is like, let's say you chance upon this guy. If the alleyway's too big, you just walk it out.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can just dodge you. It should feel a little bit claustrophobic. You should feel like there's no other way. The only light in the piece is actually behind Warwick.
Yeah,
so your only chance of escape is being blocked off.
Oh, yeah. I think like, I mean, from the perspective of it, it almost feels like a manhole cover. It's like, you're kind of like, what's going on, Bob?
Oh, shit. Go back down.
I don't mind me. Don't mind me.
But I mean, and this is where sort of my laziness plays to my advantage, is like I could have spent, days rendering this background, especially given the fact that I had such amazing reference to draw from.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Down here.
Here. Right? I could have spent weeks even
Yeah.
introducing this kind of stuff. But the reality is it would have been distracting.
Yeah.
So I just need to grab like a couple key moments of the feeling, like, okay, these ladders, you can see there's like air vents, you can see there's little bridges cutting across, you can see there's like glowing stuff, but you can't really see any of it because like if you've ever been face to face with a deadly animal, which thankfully we haven't, but your head would be throbbing with blood, right? It's like fight or flight. Everything that's not important just fucks off in your vision. And you're just like hyper fixated on like, I mean, this literally happens to you physically, right? You like hyper dilate and you only look at the focal point, and then you have to like choose what to do and run. So it actually helps capture that feeling.
I was once kicked by a horse.
I'm sure you had very selective focus after
I mean,
that.
it was like I didn't really look at anything.
Yeah.
It was in the belly, but it was like,
how did I get here?
Yeah.
What have I done with
actually,
my life?
it's kind of interesting because I remember this piece. I remember the background being much more detailed.
You filled it in for me.
And it's like, I think that's also kind of like when it's kind of blurry, but it has like the correct, because I think like ultimately what you got from having this beautiful design work already done for you by the team is that all the shapes that make up the city are all correct and they are in their proper place.
Yeah.
And so
this is actually funny because I'm just reminded, this literally has actually a really nicely designed little manhole thing.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't use it because I needed these bars
to be
for the
straight.
feeling.
Yes.
But I remember actually literally lasso tooling this and putting it in and realizing it's too beautiful, it's too distracting, and it becomes this like sort of like Notre Dame stained glass moment when I need it to actually zoom you into the piece.
So you would you say that you kind of like placed these bars as an accelerator?
Yes, I think that's a good example of like the needs of the illustration superseding anything else, right? I think Nathan Folks is the one who would say, tell a lie to tell a greater truth. So I could have included a real Zahn manhole cover that had been designed for me, but I needed something else. And that is more important. The emotional reality, right? I think that's our takeaway for today, the emotional reality. And I did that And I made those kinds of decisions everywhere throughout the piece. And so it ends up feeling a lot more detailed than it is. But really, it's like maybe just here.
Yeah.
And the rest is really quite loose. Like actually, like here, let me just blur this. It's like, okay, cool. Well, now there's not that much to look at. Like the secondary details are going to be the arm.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff along the rim light, which like that's an old painting trick. You put the information where the light turns to shadow, right? On the Terminator.
Yeah.
And that keeps you from having to render all the shit in between. Is you just describe the fur along the edge, you describe the material of the tube along the edge, the reflective properties of the metal along the edge. It's the same thing that we were talking about with the Gorgon, right?
Yeah.
Like the 3 scales that sell the whole thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, being economical there.
Yeah. Well, it's also like because when you have the detail at the edges, that's also like where material shows itself.
Yeah.
Like it's always like how the form turns. Like first rendered mostly where it turns to shadow.
Yeah.
Or where the light is, and so like you have the rim light from the light behind him.
Yeah,
and
this does all the work for me. This little moment right here.
It definitely helps like read, because if you zoom in on the arm that's like in the background behind it, there's no detail at all in a sense. Like you have the form sculpture, but then you have like only like one little hair speck in the rim light there.
But I really like this little moment here, and then the little subsurface on the tube, and that's the fun stuff.
And then you have this like blood in.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not allowed to like show blood
it's
explicitly.
Not blood. It is robot fluid.
It's ketchup.
Ketchup.
No, but this is actually another, I think, very important moment for me in terms of reference. I don't have it in my pure ref, but I know I had it in a separate JPEG. And one of the things I love the most visually is when you drop ink in water.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I'm not gonna pull it up because opening Google is a pain in the ass for now. But just Google like.
I will superimpose.
Yes,
some
thank
drops
you.
in water.
Thank you. In the editing, fix it in post.
I will fix it in post.
It's so fascinating. It's like this dance of two liquids of different viscosities and how they interact, and so it's a small moment, but it's very important to me.
I remember I would when I was starting out, I would like take photos of ink and water. Yeah. And I would like use it to trace shapes. And I would like imagine stuff like, because I was very much.
It's like clouds, you know. It's like it's very nebulous or smoke.
Oh, couldn't that be cool if this was that and that? And you just run with it. Yeah. I love like organic inspiration like that.
Same here, like having a little bit of the structure of the ear show through, sort of the bat-like structure of the ear, and then what's it called, the veins. Yeah. But just in a little moment, you just have to tease it. You don't have to put it everywhere.
And then you have the opposite where the ear's in shadow. Yeah. Because you already showcased the structure.
Yeah, I don't need to do it again.
Yeah, and so you only have like, it's basically a flat sheet of value. Yeah. And then you have the fur that's obviously has a bit of an edge over it because that is a different material.
But being careful not to introduce too much contrast in here. Yeah. In order to keep the integrity of the overall shape. Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I am fairly proud of on this piece is the face, because it went through many iterations. I'm going to spare you all the different versions I did. But basically, so in keeping with the theme of trying to do two things at once, I really, really, really wanted the feeling of head-on. Yeah. Like perfectly head-on. There's nothing more direct and more menacing than like directly symmetrical, head tilted down. You know, you get the V of the brows. It's just like, it's like sort of the most aggressive head-on thing that you can do. Yeah. You know, there's just something unavoidable about that.
There's also like with this photo of the lion with the blood on its mouth, like because it's looking up, it is much significantly less menacing in a way. Because
you have to be tilted down. So that's why I took this screenshot here. Is like I wanted this V, especially with the ears. He has like the craziest V of all time, and with the nose to complete the V. So to me, that was like I needed that energy, but the trade-off of something like that is that it's flat, right? And so you need a little bit of 3/4 just to show volume. So I wanted it almost as close to perfectly symmetrical as possible, like to get that V. Mm-hmm. And originally I did have it perfectly symmetrical, but I did find out that it was just too flat. Yeah. So I think this is a case where I also kind of cheated, where I'm pretty sure like the top part, like this,
Mm-hmm.
is more or less head on.
Yeah.
And then the snout is like very slightly 3/4.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
it's a very subtle detail, but
Yeah.
I think it's definitely like with the nose. It's like you can kind of see like from the nose and down, the mouth becomes more and more turned towards us.
Yes.
So you're doing the same
because
with
normally,
the
I think
vowels.
if it was actually 3/4, like the brow would probably cover this.
Yeah.
This would be more open. I mean, I sort of turned the ears, so like
Yeah.
one's more open and one's more closed. Anyway, it's pretty cheated, but it like the sum of the parts kind of works okay.
Yeah.
But I'm quite proud of some of the drawing and the overlaps in here.
Yeah.
Namely that introducing the 3/4 allows me to do so many interesting little like drawing tricks,
Yeah.
so to speak, which is like, or fundamentals really, is like the idea of simple versus complex. Well, now I get to have this straight line versus these bumps
Yeah.
on this side. Okay, so now I have my straight or my simple versus complex. I can have tons of fun overlaps. Basically, like you have this tooth being overlapped by this part of the lip. This part of the lip tucks behind over here, which goes in front of this tooth. Then you have the muzzle here. Again, this gets to tuck in there. Then over here, you get to have like part of the lip pop out. And I think this is super important in showing the structure. So all these little things, it's very simple and sounds kind of dumb, but it's so easy for this stuff to be flat otherwise.
Yeah.
If you just have nose, lips, nose, like there's just no volume to it.
Yeah, because of the way that you have chosen to draw these volumes, you get a lot more out of each thing. Like I mean, I think the one thing I end up telling my students a lot is like there's so much free stuff.
Yeah.
If you just use it.
If you just use it. Yeah.
And I feel like here in this case, like you have done a very small trick, in terms of you twisted the mouth a bit more, but I think in a way because he is more, you could say like we are used to looking at the face warp.
Yeah.
A tiny bit like for because like
so it's got a little motion to it.
Yeah.
Where it's not static. Yeah. It's not frozen.
And so sometimes when we have to like if you go back to the Jesper Eising illustration, you don't have to go back to it. I'll superimpose it. But like the warp of the perspective actually helps the read.
Yeah.
And
the motion.
And so
because
sometimes
you can't lock it down.
Yeah. And so because you can't really determine like where does this really belong, you actually move with it, which is much closer to how we actually perceive the world, because when we move our face in space, everything warps and we don't think about it. So when you have a painting that has supposed to be that this kind of like big thing, then that warp really matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just a last little thing before I have to head off is advocating for the idea of abstract design. I think a lot of people learn, again, very literal, sort of like, okay, render this orb as a metal or as furs, blah, blah, blah. But just making a case for abstract painting. And if you take like some of these smaller moments and really think about like what's going on, it's very abstract.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed painting this. Like I actually really thoughtfully painted this because it's in the focal.
Yeah.
Or even a moment over here. Ah, shit, thank you. This is like, in my opinion, sort of underrated skill. Is like, how do you paint this?
I think like one thing that comes to mind when you're talking about the abstract thing is also just that these things are abstract, and when you zoom in, they don't look like anything, and that's also has to do with like how we perceive the world. Of like we kind of like look at things through boundary. Like we're both wearing blue shirts in this case, but and that kind of like denotes the boundary of it. But if you zoomed in like very close to any particular part, then suddenly the shirt disappears and it's just like a little corner, and that will be painted abstractly. But when you zoom out, obviously like the total of it feels like shirt.
Yes.
And so there's many ways to actually arrive at the correct thing. So in this case, I mean, like that's really cool. Wow, it's such like when you make it big, I'm like, oh, this is like a spaceship. Like
but exactly. Okay, so to my point, like once you have the shape or whatever of the claw, forget that it's a claw in Warwick, fuck off Warwick, and go on that space journey. Like zoom in, and this is what I call micro compositions instead of rendering. Because if I was just rendering metal, I wouldn't make any of these decisions. But now that I'm doing a micro composition, I'm thinking about like, oh, what if this is an alien planet and this was like a little river, and then you get a little island, and then you have like a big, medium, small island. Then you have some of these black shapes where it'll be like, okay, a hard edge versus a soft edge tail. Then you have like a big spill over here, and this is like the black versus the white moment. Everything else is like softer by comparison. You have a little bit of the Fresnel over the edge here. Some of these like smaller moments.
And I think like one thing here is like everything kind of accelerates forward.
Yeah.
And that's why it feels like a spaceship.
Yeah, it shoots you up.
Yeah.
It has to shoot you up. The energy of the abstract design can't be static. It has to flow into a direction. So both of the both of the claws have energy that's meant to shoot you up. So this little shape, you can think of it as like a lightning bolt that's telling you like, hey, come over here. Like, I mean, literally look at this shape.
Yeah.
It's
they reinforce the direction of the movement you want.
Or over here, same thing. Everything is pointing you up.
Yeah. I think that's a really underrated skill to actually develop. It's like this like total abstraction where you're not just putting something because it should be there. You're putting something there. And I mean, of course, like a claw has like an intuitive focal point either towards something, like if you put your hand forward, or it has it back behind you, because obviously these claws, they go back, which is, I think, not what you would expect from a claw necessarily. Like they kind of like come out from the bone.
And then another thing that I learned from Alex, I wish I could show you the exact example that really sold this for me, but I'll do this to illustrate. Is at one point I had rendered all of the claws. Yeah. And so it might have at one point felt something like this. Yeah. And it was too much. It was
it was too detailed.
So busy. Yeah. And so I really had to knock back this one and this one to be the framing claws. Yeah. So think of them as the container. Yeah. Here. These are the parentheses that allow you to know I need to go through here. Right? Instead of like, oh, I should go wander over here, and like, oh, well, why am I here? I should never be here.
So it's like, no. You're kind of controlling the contrast of detail, so that in the places where you don't necessarily want the eye to wander, I mean, because you talk about it with the gating off and creating these, like, because they're loose details, but they still feel like something, like with the gate in the back. Yeah. And then, because they're not the focal area, then you remove the detail, you take it away. Yes. And
that restraint, the ability to remove, I think, is one of the things that's missing from most of the work that I see. Yeah. Once people acquire the power to do this, they put it everywhere. Yeah, yeah. When so really, actually, you need to figure out where to put it. Yeah. Yeah. But it's counterintuitive. You're like, okay, I have this thing that is going to make it look so cool. Like, I should just do that everywhere. But it's like, no, it looks cool because I put it next to something else that's not as cool.
It's also a matter of, like, how can you make the eye rest as well? Because, like,
super important.
Because it can get really busy. Like, if you look at the tail at the very back, of going back there, like, there's so little detail. It's just being picked out by these little things, but it's purposely that the tail's wagging back. Yeah, it's not going out of the canvas. Yeah,
and it can't be more detailed than this, because then the depth will be sabotaged. Yeah. So it's depth of field is also super important for the cinematic feeling. Yeah. And so, I mean, same here. Like, look how much I blurred these guys. Yeah. Like, they just basically explode. And then I only need to, like, okay, I put one little shape here, like 2 shapes here, and then this one I get to, like, add little things.
Because it is between 2 containers.
Yeah, these are the containers. Yeah. So it's a really fun process to, like, take your viewer on a little journey like that.
Yeah. And is there, like, a point... So when you're talking about, like, removing, because obviously you had a team to help you, like, to, hey, this is too busy, or you also could realize it yourself probably, because you talk about there's, like, a feedback process where you get paint overs from the whole team. Yeah. And I think, like, one of those things that kind of come to mind from that is also, like, If you were working on your own painting, or say you have like a more loose art direction, you don't get so much help from the team.
Yeah.
What would you use as a criteria for these are the details that should be removed? Like what would you say would be the most important thing? We go, okay, like obviously there's the focal point,
Yeah.
and there's this idea of like the container of like you have like the things that are internal that are the most important, they're more detailed, and then the things that are like outside of that, they are less detailed to kind of like increase the feeling of detail.
Yeah.
But then,
I think it would be quite similar. I think I would have pushed even less detail here.
Yeah.
If it was just up to me, and less detail here. Like I don't think this is actually very important or interesting.
It doesn't add necessarily more to the terror of it, because it's a very bright object, but it doesn't make him more scary.
No, it's actually like looking at it today, I would say it's quite distracting. It has very, very hard edges, and that's just the concession to showing off the design.
Yeah.
But I think this is less important to me.
Could you paint it over? Just
no,
like,
because I don't know all the hotkeys.
Okay.
I don't want to, and I have to head out soon. But
yeah.
I
I almost tricked him to stay for another 20 minutes.
I could stay for another 2 hours.
We could stay here for 4 hours.
Yeah,
oh man, I love this.
And I would love to come back, but it's just
yeah, we know. We
got the baby at home.
Yeah.
So, but I think what's nice about personal work is you can really please your own sensibilities, and you don't have to necessarily justify them on a product level. So you can just do things if they feel good, right? And I think a lot of this feels good to me, but a lot of it is concessions to the product. Yeah. So.
Yeah, to follow along.
Yeah.
But I think like that is a really good journey through from the sketch to the final stage. We're kind of learning a bit about the pillars of like how these designs are built from the sketch phase. Victor, I want to thank you very much for generously sharing your time.
Like I said, I could literally keep going.
Yeah,
I have so much more to talk about because I shot photo reference for this. I mean, there's like all sorts of other stuff I could talk about, but maybe another time.
We are just happy to get going. It's amazing to at least to start
inaugural
with
episode, right?
So I mean, I think like that the work here. I mean, like I remember like when this one was finally revealed and I saw it, I was like, wow, Victor, this is. I mean, you always done some cool work for the splash art, but I thought this one really stood out because of the way that the story and the character design kind of came together.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I wonder if the simplicity of the character allowed me to make more sophisticated decisions, because sometimes you're like juggling so many things of like, okay, this character is very unclear or complicated or like really nuanced from the outset, but having something that's just a big dumb werewolf actually allowed me to focus on some of the smaller things. That makes sense.
Because you talk about like some characters that have very elaborate costume design, and if that has to be shown off,
or then you're like, what kind of character is this? Like this one, you get it. You're like, okay, it's a werewolf. Yeah. So then now I can explore the painting.
The design is very clear from the very beginning, and so that makes it easier to kind of like go for the iconic idea. Yeah. Because it's also for, you could say, the audience itself. Yeah. You don't need to know she's a princess who comes from the sun and she's like married to a god.
On Wednesdays she turns blue. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
And with
so in a way, it's it allowed me to focus on a different level.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, like I really appreciate the breakdown. Like definitely, I think like the pillar idea is very interesting. Yeah, because like
it's something I do for myself, even if I don't have a client. Yeah, is set pillars.
Yeah, because I mean, like I work in a bit differently. I mean, we're gonna I'm gonna have Victor back, and he's gonna ask me about one of my paintings. It's gonna be so fucking cool. Yeah, it's gonna be so questions. Good. Yes. Okay, because I have like a bunch of like stuff, and I think this format works really well. So let us know what you think of this. Anyone who's watching, of the 100 viewers on my channel. This is a walkthrough of the Warwick Splash, and this will be it for now. Super interesting, right? If you're interested in learning more from Victor, he has an 8-week self-paced course available through Underpaint Academy, where he does much more elaborate breakdowns of his thinking process. It's over 20 hours of video, and it is just incredible, the knowledge that he's sharing. The reviews I've seen from his students seem just absolutely incredible. I would highly recommend checking it out if you think, oh, this guy sounds like he knows what he's doing, and he does. He really does. So check out Victor's ArtStation, his Instagram. Links in the description. And also, of course, check it out on Underpaint Academy if you are interested in learning more from him. All right. Enjoy.